All right. Welcome to Nick's News Radio. Well, nicksnews.net, the podcast. My name is Rio Gonzalez, and I'm the editor, founder, chief executive. I'm the guy that started this thing. I need to apologize. I'm a little disheartened at this point in time. And this is funny because this is, well, the first thing you're hearing from me, right? So, disheartened is what happens when you record a 10-minute podcast off the cuff and you feel really good about it. And you're absolutely sure that it's exactly what you wanted to say. And it was completely improvised. And you know that it would have hit home with the people who were going to be listening. And then you realize the whole time that your mic was muted. And what you did is you recorded some canned laughter and clapping, and then there was 9.5 minutes of silence. So I'm disheartened. I'm almost 100% certain that I've figured out how to work this application at this point in time. But, regardless, expect this to be less phenomenal than one would expect for an initio podcast. So, my shtick for this podcast was going to be to sound like a businessman and tell you what we're about and really connect with you as individuals and, be like, you should really buy my product but since I'm not exactly thrilled with what has just gone down in my technological impairedness, which is funny. Just a little side note here. My research is on pedagogical technologies. I got a McNair scholarship for it, and I feel pretty good about my ability to just about pick up anything that has a battery or plugs into a wall and make it do stuff that most people can't. So, back to the beginning. My name's Rio Gonzalez, and I'm the editor, etc., of nextnews.net. We're reading rocks, and alliteration is allowed. Yeah, I came up with that myself. I know, I could have done better, but it was kind of cute, so I stuck with it. So here's the deal. I don't like reading the news. It's boring. Most people who don't read the news say that it's boring, that it's depressing. I can't give you statistics because I'm saying most people. And when most people say most people, it's because they don't really know. They're just assuming. But from the conversations I've had with the dozen or so friends of mine, the most people of those dozen or so friends that don't read the news say it sucks. And so we're going to write news that doesn't suck. It's going to be the same news, but we're going to have writer voice. And we're going to try and make it fun. We're going to try and connect with you as readers, as individuals. We're going to be colloquial. We're going to be satirical. I'm not going, okay, now here's something. I'm not entirely certain what the legal protocol is for me citing specific other companies. So I'm just going to say them and hope I don't get sued because I really don't have any money. I'm doing this out of my apartment. Don't sue me. Anyway, so other companies, consider this a shout out on your behalf. I'm not you. I don't want your readership. But I appreciate what you're doing. And that's why I'm using you as a basis, or at least parts of you as a basis. Going back to that basis, we're not The Onion. That's a little too heady for us. That's a little too edgy. We're not Colbert, right? Also just a little too quirky. We're kind of like Jon Stewart, mixed with a little bit more of, I don't know. I can't say the Bozeman Daily Chronicle because we're not anything like the Bozeman Daily Chronicle. But we've got real news with a satirical edge and a colloquial voice and lots and lots of writer voice. That's a big thing here. I want our writers at Nick's News to be passionate about what they're writing about. And because of that, there's going to be very little editation. What they say is what you'll read. What they want to talk about is what I'll print. So you get people's perspective. You get their perspectives as semi-professional writers, not just as the guy at the coffee shop who's going on and on and on about nuclear weapons in North Korea, or about a meteor in Russia and how it might have been a spy satellite, but it probably wasn't because no one's ever thought of that, at least not printed that. Well, except for that guy on the corner who wears a paper bag for a dress. That guy, he probably said something, but you probably didn't listen. So we're not going there. What we are going to is we're going to print news that you want to read in a way that makes you want to read it. The depressing stuff has to happen because that's what news is, because that's what everybody prints. But we don't have to write it in such a way that makes you like, oh, I just ate rocks for breakfast. You know, that mental digestive process doesn't need to be dyspeptic because of the news. You can be okay with what's out there. Sure, a lot of it sucks. But that doesn't mean that we have to make it worse by writing it in a way that sucks. So what we're about, again, I want to cover local news from Livingston to Three Forks, and as far south as Big Sky, maybe West Yellowstone. I'll probably get to Chico, Norris, and Ennis. But the writers that I currently have are college students, friends, superb writers, brilliant intellectuals that are your peers, people that you will know. You go down to the coffee shop, you'll likely be seeing someone that is potentially a friend of yours and potentially working for me. And you could be working for me too. If you've got a story, freelance is what this is all about. I want to know the news before the cops know. I want to know the news before the Bozeman Daily Chronicle gets their paws on it. Because we all know that once the Chronicle gets their hands on it, well, it's nobody else's story. I might get sued for that, but that's okay because the Chronicle, they've got their thing. People read their paper. I need to be edgy enough and careless enough and fun enough that you'll read mine too. Or maybe first. And, you know, that plan for the worst, hope for the best. My plan is that maybe this will be something that I can do just because it's fun and keep people informed on what's going on in the area, just because I enjoy it. And my hope is that eventually I'll shut down the Chronicle and they'll turn into my personal printing company. So, there's me. I don't want to have sports in this paper. I want to have outdoors. The Chronicle's got sports. There's the outdoors paper, you know, the tablet that's out there. It's the free paper, sits under the desk at Poor Richard's. You can just walk over and take one. What I want is to cover all of the little hidden places that people like to go but don't like telling anybody. I want to get into the good stuff of Montana. You know, get back to what Montana is. Get back to the Gallatin Valley, Park County. Get us into the news. So you, if you see a bar fight and the cops don't happen to show up for it because, well, it's there and gone too fast, but it was good, and it's something you can write about, send it in to me. I'm going to print the Bozeman police reports. Like, the way the police reports go, just in case you don't know, there's a vast list of things that happen throughout a day, and the Bozeman Daily Chronicle picks out of there what they want to keep. And they set that aside for the calendar. They pick out of there the stuff that is too edgy or potentially political that might get them, you know, the eye of the wrong person. Someone who has influence over a company. And they set that aside. And they take all the stuff that is still read-worthy, stuff that'll get you to read, even buy the paper just for the police reports, but isn't good enough to make the best of, and that's what they publish. Well, since I'm going to be largely doing it easy, and I'm just going to slap it all on there. It's pretty good stuff. I like it. A lot more fun. But I need you. It's true. I need you in all of the things that you see and think and feel to tell me what you see and think and feel. And then that is how we will direct where this paper is going to go and how it's going to be. The existence, the personality, well, at least the demeanor of this paper is largely up to you. You tell me what you want, and I'll make it happen. Because realistically, I'm not a businessman. I don't have any money. I'm not even good with my own personal finances. But what I can do is make shit happen. And unfortunately, that meant that I had to start this paper by going out and talking to a bunch of people. And instead of being like, hey, I've got this great idea, sell it to someone who can really do it right, I have to be like, hey, I've got this great idea, and no one else will do it right, so I've got to do it myself. Which seems to be okay, because a lot of people are on board. And at this point in time, I'm pretty much just ranting. But nixnews.net is going to be where you can get your paper. Because, well, we're too cheap to print off 500 copies of 4 pages of quarterfold for $400. So instead, we'll have the internet, and if you want a physical paper, we'll print one for you. And here's the fun part. Print papers. They're going out. And the reason is because they're not communicating with technology. They're staying as print, and they're hardcore about it. The deal with Nick's News. And realistically, if you listened this far and you're going to continue, this is where the reality of Nick's News and the basis of what I want to go off of for this company is going to start. So tell your friends to start at about this timestamp right here. Nick's News is going to be technological. I'm writing a paper for people who are young enough and hip enough and not scared of technology. So this paper is going to have all of the facts. Every story that's written, all of the raw data will be archived at a link at the bottom. Every paper that we print will be a QR code at the bottom so you can go straight to that raw data from the physical copy. You just pull out your smartphone or your tablet, you scan that code, and you'll get to the same place you would if you read it online. But you get that feeling, you know, like when you play, well, I don't know, yet another quote that I should probably ignore. But steampunk, right? Steampunk rocks. We like it. It's that return to the old. You got that clockwork, you got that steam, you got that leather, you got that life, that earth. That getting your hands dirty, back to the roots, back to the soil. And yet you still got all the cool shit. So I'm going to take a newspaper and give every single article QR codes that goes directly to the raw data that the writers that I have are going to use to write their columns. The columns will be heavy with opinion and writer voice. But if you want to see where they're coming from and you don't just want to believe it, click that link at the bottom or scan that QR code on the paper. Go see the raw data and make your own decision. We're a bipartisan paper. But I'm not writing bipartisan. I want Democrats, Republicans, and Libertarians to write their own perspectives. When they publish it, I'm going to put those 3 columns right next to each other and you can make up your own mind. Get all the raw data from each of them. There's going to be no skimming off of the edges. None of the extremists will be cut. You get all the information and you get to decide for yourself. Who wants to be spoon-fed what's happening in their lives?